I think the photo ops can now settle down a little bit. Thank you. Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Your Excellencies, the High Commissioners, distinguished guests from both countries, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, I'm privileged to welcome the Honorable Prime Minister of India to this interaction with the Sri Lankan business community. Let me also extend a very warm welcome to all of you here this evening from both Sri Lanka and India. Honorable Prime Minister, the Ceylon Chamber lays claim to a heritage of 175 years, during which time we have served the interests of the Sri Lankan private sector and of our country with dedication and commitment. Together with the Chamber in Mumbai, we remain one of the longest serving business chambers in Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka and India share a deep and enduring cultural and historical ties that date back centuries. While some of what we have heard over the ages is now more in the realm of legend, what is undeniable is that Sri Lanka is the anointed guardian of the philosophy of India's greatest son, Lord Gautama Buddha. And Lord Buddha's teachings refer not only to a way of life, but also apply to business and commerce. At the heart of his teachings was sustainability, spoken of by him 2,600 years ago, but brought back to vogue recently as the new mantra of the business world. Honorable Prime Minister, the Ceylon Chamber has consistently supported deeper economic ties between our two countries. We gave our fullest support to the groundbreaking Indo-Lanka FTA, which we understand was the first of such agreements for both countries. Subsequently, we have argued in favor of the principle of a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, commonly called CEPA, subject, of course, to the fine print. As you may be aware, Prime Minister, CEPA has been on the back burner in Sri Lanka. This is partly due to politics, and partly due to concerns on the part of some sections of Sri Lanka's business community who perceive a playing field tilted in favor of their Indian counterparts. The complex regulatory environment in India may have contributed to the latter concern. Sri Lankan businesses have consistently spoken of three challenges when doing business in India: their mutual recognition of standards, non-tariff barriers, and testing procedures. It is our hope that these issues are put to rest fast, and we call upon both governments to set up a high-powered dispute resolution mechanism to do so that the more important issues pertaining to deeper economic ties between our two countries can be addressed. In a sense, three factors have kept deeper economic ties between Sri Lanka and India as a concept rather than as a policy: political will, concern amongst the business community, both of which refer to Sri Lanka, and the regulatory framework within India. Hopefully, the political will on the Sri Lankan side is far more positive now. We also have no doubt that under your firm and visionary leadership, the Indian regulatory environment will soon meet the needs of modern-day trade, commerce, and investment. The third constraint is anxiety. India is 60 times larger than Sri Lanka in terms of population and 24 times larger in terms of its economy. Thus, Sri Lankan businesses cannot hope to derive the economies of scale that their Indian counterparts are born to. Under the circumstances, the concerns of some sections of the Sri Lankan business community are not unfounded. An asymmetric mechanism that recognizes Sri Lanka's inherent scale disadvantages will go a long way to ease the concerns of the business community in this country. Honorable Prime Minister, we hope you have a pleasant and fruitful visit to our wonderful country. We hope also that the warm and hospitable welcome you are bound to receive during your travels here will leave with you an enduring impression of a cultured, peaceful, and confident people. It is our sincere wish that your visit will lead to, amongst others, deeper economic ties between India and Sri Lanka. As for the Ceylon Chamber, we remain committed to this objective and extend our fullest support to the government of Sri Lanka to seek a mechanism that is in the best interests of our country. Before I conclude, Prime Minister, may I have the privilege of presenting to you a token of our deep appreciation for your gracious presence here this evening. Thank you.
Honorable Ravi Karunayake, Minister of Finance of Sri Lanka, Honorable Rishadji, Minister of Industry and Commerce of Sri Lanka, Mr. Suresh Shah, Chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, business representatives from India and Sri Lanka, distinguished guests, I'm delighted to be here at the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for coming here in such a large numbers. It is a real honor to visit Sri Lanka. Over the course of these 2 days, I'll meet people from all walks of life. For me, this is one of the most important meetings in Sri Lanka. This is because no matter how old and strong the relationship is, economic cooperation is often the locomotive that gives it momentum. It is also important because for all of us in our region, the most important priority is transforming the lives of our people. Our path will be determined by our economic choices and the quality of governance. But business enterprises will remain critical for our success. I often say that a nation's fortunes are linked to its neighborhood. There are many in India who would argue that India is too large to need her neighbors. There are many in our region who worry that India's economic size will hurt them. I disagree with both views. For one, we all need a stable and peaceful neighborhood to concentrate on national development. I also believe that countries do better when the entire region moves together. I said at the SAARC summit that barriers of boundaries inhibit progress, international partnerships give it speed. That is why we see a rising tide of regional integration and cooperation across the world. Our region is rich in resources. We constitute a large market. We complement each other. Therefore, our cooperation can be of huge benefit to all of us. There are already powerful examples in South Asia that shows us that differences in size is no constraint to beneficial partnership if we use our strengths and size our opportunities. Bhutan benefits from hydropower exports to India. Nepal has significant manufacturing export to India, in part driven by Indian investors. Infrastructure energy supply, traditional handicrafts, modern manufacturing, tourism, and services. There are no limits to our possibilities. I hardly need to tell this informed audience about the transformation unleashed in India over the past 10 months. There is new purpose and clarity in our policies, a new vision for inclusive development, new standards in our governance, and a new level of energy in our economy. Last quarter, India was the fastest growing global economy. We are confident that we can grow even faster. The progress of 1/6 of humanity is a major economic opportunity for the world. The global confidence in India has been restored. The world's engagement with India is at a new level. But the first claim of us should be that of India's neighbors. And I'll be happy if India is a catalyst for economic growth in our own region. That is why I speak of a neighborhood where trade, investment, ideas, and people move easily across the borders. And as I said in Kathmandu, Nepal, in November, India will do its part for the region. We will work to integrate our markets more. We will make trade smoother and possible through the most direct routes. We will invest in regional connectivity, and we will share our capabilities in science and technology with South Asia, from advanced medicines to disaster management or space science. As a friend and a neighbor, we attach the highest importance to Sri Lanka's economic progress. Sri Lanka is a nation of many achievements and great strengths. It has education, skills, and enterprise. It has an excellent location, and it has won peace now. Sri Lankan business have shown that they can compete with the best in the world. Our garments and tea industry know that. We are pleased to be Sri Lanka's largest trading partner and one of its largest source of investment. Our free trade agreement in 2000 was a pioneering initiative in the region. It has given a big boost to our trade. Sri Lanka's export to India have grown 16 times. Yes, 16 times. Since then, this is impressive by any standards. I know there are concerns here about the huge trade imbalance. I'm prepared to work with you to address them. I want balanced growth in trade. We will try to make it easier and smoother for you to access the Indian market. That is part of my philosophy of ease of doing business in India. Our agreement on customs cooperation is a step in that direction. India is opening up to the world. We offer duty-free access to least developed countries, including in South Asia. And India has free trade agreements with ASEAN and others. We should ensure that Sri Lanka does not fall behind in it, the changing and competitive world. That is why India and Sri Lanka should move boldly to conclude a comprehensive economic partnership agreement. It should also attract investments from India for exports to India. That should be the natural outcome of our proximity in your strengths. Indian investments can also upgrade and expand your infrastructure. It is also natural that Indian investors are more likely to invest here because of familiarity and proximity. There are already here, and I know that there are many large commitments in the pipeline. They are looking for your support. During this visit, I am pleased with progress on Samapur thermal power project and the Trincomalee oil farm. That is good for Sri Lanka's energy security and for our partnership. Sustainable development of the ocean economy can be a huge area of cooperation. I also believe that when we connect the lives of people, we strengthen the bonds between nations. We have extended visa on arrival facility to Sri Lanka from April 14. We should do more to connect our countries by air and sea. India and Sri Lanka were in some ways better connected in the past than we are now. In the past, a person could buy a rail ticket in Colombo and travel to Chennai by rail and ferry. Air India's decision to launch direct flight between our capitals will help reverse that trend. Tourism unites people and creates economic opportunities. India is already the biggest source of tourists here. We will work together to increase that flow. In conclusion, let me return to the point I had made at the beginning. India's progress gives us the ability to create opportunities for our neighbors. Our development partnership has injected commitments of $1.6 billion in assistance from India. That has helped rebuild and upgrade infrastructure in Sri Lanka. Today, we have offered another line of credit of about $380 million for the railway sector. Reserve Bank of India has agreed to provide Central Bank of Sri Lanka a currency swap arrangements for $1.5 billion. This will increase the stability of Sri Lankan rupee. It is not just in development partnership. We will also be supportive in advancing your commercial interests. I believe in Sri Lanka's capabilities. We should engage more. We should open up to each other more. We should move forward with greater belief in our own strengths, with more trust in each other, and with more confidence in the fruits of our partnership. As I have said before, Sri Lanka has the potential to be our most important economic partner in the region. We count on your support to make it happen. Thank you, thanks a lot, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.